Cool. So let's just see how this one goes. So yeah, a password hash is a unique encrypted value. The password hash is produced. You take the value of your text password and transform it by using an algorithm. You know, you take that one and you can actually use, there are many tools online that you can use. So the algorithm always produces the same hashed value for a given input value. The rainbow table lists, the rainbow table lists the plain text value of encrypted password specific to a given hash algorithm. Thus, the text password value of a password can easily be determined when matched on the hash value is found. So this story about hashes, leave those ones for now. Leave those ones for now. They're not that important. Now both give us permission to mute and unmute Patrick, Kai, ile story ya Joy. You. Where? Gideon, I've seen unitaki. You don't want for me, eh? Okay, so tools and services. Now let us look at tools and services. So I talked about BitLocker. BitLocker is one of the password managers that I've personally used, and it's quite effective and it's good and it's free. I think it's free up to a certain limit. So I guess I've not exceeded the limit. So password managers, they operate over a centralized authentication system. They improve security by requiring extra login step. They allow password resets. You can manage services that are used with specific credentials, and it stores personal passwords on a local system. So password consolidation, security question, password reset, and permitted services are all part of your password manager that you choose. And then now you connect from your password manager to the web. If you want to connect, say, for example, you want to connect, let's say, to PayPal, and then you have your password that has been generated by this password manager, you can use it to do that. Okay. Then we have this concept of group accounts. You are told specifically, do not use group accounts. Do not use group accounts. So you want to log in as group 1, log in as group 2, log in as group 3, but you see all of them have an X. But what you should be doing, you should be logging in using your user ID, not your group account, your user account. So we have user 1, Liu J, user 2 is Mansa A, and user 3 is Santos P. So they are allowed to log in. So for you to harden authentication as a best practice, avoid the use of group accounts because they provide no accountability. If you log into a system as developers, we just know it's developers that are in there. Now, we don't know which developer. Is it Naboth? Is it Dan? Is it Sharon? Is it Abby? Is it Befalin? So it is very, very important for you to log in using your user account. You log in using your user account. So if, for example, Kiprono belongs to a group of security engineers and they're trying to do auditing, when he's doing the auditing, he needs to have logged into the system as user Kiprono, not as user security engineers. Not as user security engineers. So that is very, very important for the purposes of accountability. Then you also heard me mention this thing to do with SSO. SSO is single sign-on. So passwords are synchronized between two independent systems. Common trusted login credentials are used across systems. Systems remain independent. Systems are not in a trust relationship and do not belong to the same directory structure. They are not in a trust relationship and they do not belong to the same directory structure. Again, let's say, for example, you want to log into your LinkedIn account. There are different options that you can use. Sometimes you hear them asking you, do you want to log in, let's say, for example, with Google? Do you want to log in with Google? So you can say yes, and then you'll choose the Google account you want to log in with, and then you'll be authenticated. You'll be authenticated into the system. So without single sign-on, you will need to enter your password your username and password. That's what we call IDs every time you want to get into the system. But with single sign-on, you'll just click login with Google and you'll be in. You know, you just give your maybe your username or your no. The ID here represents the account that you want to use for SSO. So you click that and you will be authenticated into the system. So AWS also allows for single sign-on. So what is AWS SSO? So we are told that AWS SSO, or single sign-on, is a cloud-based service that you can use to centrally manage SSO access to all AWS accounts. And when I'm talking about all AWS accounts, it means there's a possibility that in an organization, you have more than one AWS account. Actually, most organizations do. They do have more than one AWS account. And so here we are looking at things like user permissions and AWS organizations. So AWS organization is like an umbrella that carries all the other accounts. You are bringing all your AWS accounts under one management so that you can actually manage them centrally. That's what we call the AWS organizations. We'll try and see if it is something that we can cover pale mbele, but yeah, just know that for now. So AWS single sign-on includes the following common features. Number one-click access to AWS accounts and cloud applications. Number two, ability to create and manage users and groups. Number three, compatibility with common cloud applications. And finally, compatibility with existing AWS identity and access management roles, users, and policies. So about IAM roles, users, and policies, don't trouble your mind about that. We will be talking about it on Monday. The notes are for you. Then we have this concept about federated users. Federated users. So a federated user is a form of single sign-on. One account is used for multiple services. One account is used for multiple services. So look at this flow diagram. A user authenticates to a system through their main account. The user obtains a token for the system. So you know token in a session information. It contains session information. Then the user presents the token to a third-party system. So the token that has been obtained is shared with a third-party system. The third-party system uses this token to validate the user. Then once the validation is complete, if the token is valid, the user is granted access to the remote system without authenticating again. So this is how federation works. You know, you log through your main account, then a token is generated. The token is presented to a third-party system. The third-party system uses the token to validate the user. If the validation is successful, the user is granted access to the remote system without having to do what? To authenticate again. And later on, when you go deep into security, you'll discover that even for federated users, these tokens can be set to expire. You know, they can be set to expire. You know, and then again, also when you log into a system, another thing that you might learn when you do, when you go deep into security, you will learn something that we call conditional access. Conditional access. That yes, you've been authenticated into a system. Then what? Once you've been authenticated, then you must follow the 2FA or the MFA principle or policy that has been set. Then by following the MFA, you will now be able to do what? You'll now be able to access the other bits of the system. I hope that one makes good sense. There's this wonderful AWS service that I like so much called Amazon Cognito. Cognito is for recognition, not recognition, to recognize somebody. So what is Amazon Cognito? Amazon Cognito is an AWS service that provides user management, authentication, and authorization for your web and mobile applications. You see? So at CCP, this is what you should know. You should be knowing what each service does. Yani, it's just high level. You should just know, what does the service do? What does it do? So for Cognito, we are saying it is an AWS service that provides user management, authentication, and authorization for web and mobile applications. You can use Cognito by signing in with a username and password through a third-party website. So you can use Cognito by signing in with a username and password through a third-party website. Amazon Cognito includes two main components. One is user pools, which provide sign up and sign in options to app users. And two is identity pools, which grant user access to AWS services. So we are talking about user pools and identity pools that come with Cognito. I have used Cognito extensively in some of my projects, including some work-related projects, but one of the most memorable projects that I used Cognito on was this time that I was in a boot camp and we were trying to design, or rather develop, a clone for X, a clone for Twitter. By then, I don't think it had changed its name. So we were using Cognito as our user management system. We're using Cognito as our user management system, and we're also using RDS. We'll talk about RDS in week 6 as our relational database management system. And it was such a nice project. Maybe you guys, by the time you are done with this course, and we have introduced you to these services, we will also give you ideas of portfolio projects that have been done before and have been documented somewhere that you can go and try them out and even document them for yourselves and use them even in your interviews and even just to build skill, and even just to build skill. I hope that is something that interests you. If it does, that will be a good thing. So you'll read about that, you'll read those notes. So those notes are meant for your consumption. And now here, we just have a high level overview of how IAM works, but we'll be talking a lot about IAM from Monday. So IAM, which is AWS Identity and Access Management, is a service that helps you to securely control access to AWS resources by using authentication and authorization. So in AWS, IAM is in charge of these two services. It's in charge of one, it is generally in charge of identity management, but it takes charge of authentication and authorization as parts of what we talked about identity management. So for authentication, use IAM to control who can sign in. Who can sign into your account? You have a user, you've created a user for Patrick. Patrick can sign in because Patrick has been defined in the system as a user. Authorization, use IAM to control who has access to which resources. Which resource are you allowing Salem to get his hands on? Which resource are you allowing Prudence to get her hands on? So you can use IAM to define that yes, you have Brian as a user. Maybe Brian and Prudence, they belong to this group. And now within that group, you give them permissions to access. Yeah, maybe they have permission to access Elastic Compute Cloud, EC2, or they have additional permission to access Lambda, all that. So authorization is very, very important. Okay. Now, look at this example here. We have our AWS cloud, which represents this one represents our account, okay? And this one is another account. This is an external account. So we have account 1 and account 2. So we have our principal user or the owner of this account. Let me call this owner Joy. So Joy owns this account. Then authentication happens. You are authenticated in, and then the request flows. It first of all goes through authorization. Once you have been allowed in, your request is now traveling. You have been logged in. And you can see this key and this key. So the password you enter must match the password that's in the system. You remember? So once you've been authenticated, then that request, whatever you are trying to do, will go through authorization. And you see at the authorization level, we have the arrow also leaving to go to another AWS account. So maybe you are logging through your account, but whatever you want to access is in a different AWS account and you have permissions to access it. So traffic or your request will travel to that additional account. Or if you're just where you are at, it will go through authorization and there is a JSON policy. So once you have been authorized, your authorization has gone through, you will then be given permissions to do whatever you need to do, and that's what we call actions. The actions here, maybe this is a database you are allowed to create or delete, and then you are asking ourselves, which resources are you authorized to access? Is it Amazon DynamoDB? Is it an EC2 instance? Is it an RDS? You know, all that. So that is what we are being told by that, by what you are seeing up there. So read this. This is very good. I just want you to go read it but it is the same thing that we just talked about. I like keeping it simple so that it does not become so heavy. So JSON, in most of the scripts that we'll be writing as cloud engineers, we are likely to use like two main, let me call them languages lightly, but they're not really languages. So one of them, formats, two main formats. So one of the formats is normally JavaScript object notation or JSON. And we have another one called YAML, Y-M-A-L. YAML, or sometimes it's just written as YML, yet another markup language. Yet another markup language. I don't know why they gave it that name anyway. But YAML and JSON are like the two main formats that we use to write our script, or rather languages that we use to write our scripts. So please read through this. I require consent, the following information, all this. And the reason why I've skipped this is because there is a place where we are going to be talking about this a lot, especially when we start talking about CloudFormation. We'll talk about YAML, we'll talk about resources, principals, environmental data, resource data, and the likes. You understand? So I hope that is clear. Yellow dog model. Which one? Which one? What is the yellow dog model? Okay, so we are at our checkpoint questions. The first question, what are the three primary tasks of identity management? Second question, what are the three types of authentication factors? And third questions, federated users are a form of single sign-on, true or false? Okay, somebody unmute, tell us, what are the three primary tasks of identity management? You know them. Somebody? And suddenly the class went quiet. You've forgotten them. Okay, Achan Elizabeth, they are simpler one. What are the three types of authentication factors? Three types of authentication factors? Please don't make me feel like I've just wasted my saliva for over 1 hour. Three types of authentication factors. Hey, people, you have decided. Authenticate, authorize, and manage users. We will know. We will know if you are right. Now, federated users are a form of single sign-on, true or false? Federated users are a form of single sign-on, true or false? You can't tell me that hata hiyo hamjui.
Hiyo ni true.
It's true. Okay, let's see. So, how do you forget the 3 A's? And I started with that. Three primary tasks of identity management is to authenticate, to authorize, and to account. Now, three types of authentication factors, and I repeated this severally: something you know, something you have, and something you are. Something you know is your password. Something you have is what? Something you have is like your card or your phone, and then something you are, your biometric. Federated users are a form of single sign-on. That is true. All right. Let me see who is in this class and I've not heard you speak today. I give you a chance to read for us these key takeaways. Fun, we've missed you. How are you? I hope you're in a position to read. Fun. Oh, Fun is unwell. Oh, Pole sana, pole sana. Not really. Where? Musembi? Hmm? Musembi is the team doctor. Oh, you are not unwell. Fun. Are you in a position to read? Oh, you can't read. Oh, no worries, no worries, no worries, no worries. I wish you were able to.
Wacha let me read because it's end month.
Why? And because it's end month. What is that?
Yeah.
So you're expecting a kaching, eh? You're expecting a kaching. Okay. Read for us. That's very good. And that's very kind of you. Benson, kindly read for us.
Okay, yes. Identity management ensures that users receive the appropriate access to resources they need at the right level and the appropriate time. Authentication factors can be categorized as the following: something you know, for example, a password; something you have, for example, a smart card; something you have, for example, your fingerprint. A good identity management solution includes creating password policies, using password managers, using a single sign-on, and federated identity management. AWS Identity and Access Management, IAM, is a service that helps you control access to AWS resources in a secure way by using authentication and authorization.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Thank you so much, Benson, for that. That is really, really awesome. So we are just talking. We have just scratched the surface when it comes to identity management. We've just scratched the surface, but it's a very important topic, especially for those, like I remember Rich said that he's very interested with getting into the DevSecOps space. And I know that even within you, there are also those guys that are very, very interested in getting into developer roles, those guys who are interested in getting into security roles. So this is a topic that cuts across all cloud roles. You know, even sysadmins, you will need to know how to do identity management. You know, because now if you become a systems administrator, you are now no longer just a systems administrator for on-prem systems, but now you are dealing with cloud systems. So it is very, very, very important. Thank you so much for that, people. Thank you. So I'm going to release you guys to start your weekend, but before you go, and then within your teams, it's up to the team leads in collaboration with team members to decide when you want to meet. If you want to meet after this class, if you want to meet at night, if you want to meet over the weekend, do you. But remember, you have deadlines. Remember, you have deadlines for the things that you are doing. So I am looking for that topic, and I've just found the KC. Lucky for you guys, this particular class does not have a lab, so you don't have an additional lab. So for QS, QA. How can we map QA with cloud? Quality assurance. So quality assurance for cloud, those are guys who do what? I think QA, you're more on the SysOps side of things. You're more in the system, in the ops side of things, because what operations do is, you remember DevOps, how DevOps work, developers and operations working together. So for DevOps, you are combining dev and ops. So QA, you are normally on the ops side. Once code has been generated by the dev people, your work is now to test. And now you'll now be testing the CI/CD pipeline together with running the dust and the SAST. Is it called SAST? Dust and SAST tests, just to make sure that whatever code is being is trying to make its way to prod is actually robust and is free of bugs and stuff like that. So that's the work of QA. So you guys are good. You guys are good. And yes, identity management is still something that you guys will also need to be aware of. There is no one that is exempt from that. So let us do this QA at QA. Let us do this KC together, then you guys can go. What is the goal of authorization in identity management? What is the goal of authorization in identity management? Someone give me an answer.
Determine user permissions.
Sorry?
Determining a user permissions.
Authorization determines a user's permission. Okay, that is B. Let's see if Moha is right. Correct. Very good, Moha. Now, number 2, which option is an authentication factor for something you are? Something you are. Which of them?
Fingerprint.
Alphas, yeah, good. You're saying fingerprint reader. Let's see. Correct. Good. Which type of attack uses a predefined list of words as password to attempt to log into a system? Which one? Predefined list of words as password to attempt to log into a system.
Dictionary attack.
Very good. Thank you, Alphas and the rest. Dictionary attack. Good. Number 4, what format does AWS IAM use to define authorization rules? What format does it use to define
JSON.
authorization rules? JSON, and you just saw
JSON.
that one in the last slide. Very good. What is a form of single sign-on in which one account is used for multiple services? That is what? That is
Federated identity.
federated identities. Very nice. Na hivyo tu, we are done and you have your 100. Congratulations, people. Good job. Good job. Cool. So if you want to rewatch this, if you want to rewatch what we have just discussed, what we have taught this afternoon, the recording will be with you in about an hour, not an hour, in about 2 hours time. I need it to render fast, then I'll be able to upload it. So guys, I want to wish you, okay, before I wish you anything, first, do we have any questions? Swali yoyote? Of course, apart from money. Don't ask for money at the end month. Okay. Anybody questions? Cool. If you've enjoyed the class, let me see some thumbs up. If you've enjoyed the class, let me see some thumbs up. If you have enjoyed the class and learned something new in the process, let me see some thumbs up. Thank you, Kiprono. Thank you, Elfas. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Moha. Where are the ladies at? Thank you, Fan. Thank you, Befalin. Some people have not learned nothing. Okay. I'm trying to see. Frank, I'm not seeing your thumbs up. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm disappointed. Thank you, Ivy. I'm checking to see. Okay, cool. Thank you, people. Thank you, Frank. Awesome. Thank you, Salem. Wonderful. Wunderbar. Okay. So that's really good. So thank you everybody for your time. Thank you for being in the class. So as you go for your restful weekend, please remember to catch up with your labs, remember to catch up with your KCs, catch up with your team members, plan yourselves accordingly also for week 6. And in case you need any help, or tomorrow I'll be having a very short, no, not a very long session. I think I will agree with the team that I promised to do some labs with tomorrow, so that we do a few Linux labs tomorrow, just to get them going. But guys, please make sure that you do your cases and labs, so that we don't have this mapengo that we see in these gaps that we see in your performance. Cool. So it is, what is the time? It's 4:03. Cool. So guys, have yourself a wonderful weekend. See you on Monday. Bye-bye. I'm recording.